shall begin. As mentioned yesterday, these are internal sessions allowing us to take the first 16 out of 64 songs and to create a kind of academic framework in which the Hindi film song is deconstructed by its music, its lyrics, its choreography, its directorial vision, the legacy over which 50, 60 years it's imbibed and integrated into our psyche, the culture of India, our memories, concept of nostalgia, into various forms of communication and dissemination, and becomes part of who we are, not as just as a people, but even in the more abstract collective called India. These sessions will open up. This is the first workshop. There'll be 3 on each of the subjects we are dealing with, and it will open up the first thoughts. Because creating a curricula for undergraduate studies or even postgraduate studies is not easy. It hasn't been, even in film studies, it's been tackled in a very flimsy manner in my view, and not at all with a larger agenda of understanding India or even Indian culture. But I'm sure a lot of effort, and there's many, many fine minds who really love the subject. But again, like most of cinema, we have a deep love for cinema, but a very weak cinematic culture. And obviously, the academic framework on which we integrate cinema, not just as film studies or cultural studies, but as is our objective, every subject, every and any subject you want to study, the voice of cinema must be heard. And that means a new jugalbandi between the visual as a source of knowledge and text as a traditional source of knowledge. Obviously, the audio is at a higher level of difficulty, but this whole framework of the Hindi film song may help that process forward. So, without much ado, let's hear the first song, please. Put the lights off and let us, Madan will join as soon as he reaches us. First song is from Awaara, Awara Hoon.
आवारा हूँ या गर्दिश में हूँ आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा हूँ या गर्दिश में हूँ आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा हूँ घर बार नहीं संसार नहीं मुझसे किसी को प्यार नहीं मुझसे किसी को प्यार नहीं उस पार किसी से मिलने का इकरार नहीं मुझसे किसी को प्यार नहीं मुझसे किसी को प्यार नहीं सुनसान नगर अनजान डगर का प्यारा हूँ आवारा हूँ या गर्दिश में हूँ आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा हूँ आबाद नहीं बर्बाद सही गाता हूँ खुशी के गीत मगर गाता हूँ खुशी के गीत मगर जख्मों से भरा सीना है मेरा हंसती है मगर ये मस्त नजर दुनिया दुनिया मैं तेरे तीर का या तकदीर का मारा हूँ आवारा हूँ आवारा हूँ या गर्दिश में हूँ आसमान का तारा हूँ आवारा हूँ आवारा हूँ आवारा हूँ
So, as most of you would hopefully know this song well, this is one of those strange songs that travels in a way from America because of the Chaplin influence all through the Middle East and Eastern Europe and Russia and India, and still has sustained its kind of idealism and energy and simplicity. Amit, would you like to start us on your first thoughts that come when you hear this song, see this song, and Raj Kapoor's kind of energy and visualization of the song, which was so important to him?
Awara is the film which really became the centerpiece of Raj Kapoor's cinema, as then later on he developed. This song is very interesting. This was the song which actually, and the film, which introduced Raj Kapoor to Soviet Union and to China and to other countries. But if you see from his attire and from his mannerisms, he was definitely influenced by Chaplin in this, which he always acknowledged during his life. This song is also noticeable for two or three things. One, in his early films and his last couple of films, Raj Kapoor employed a choreographer, which in between he had stopped. This song is, I think, choreographed by a choreographer called Surya Kumar, whose real name was Robert Master. And later on, Raj Kapoor used a choreographer called Satyanarayan, who has, over the years, he had choreographed many songs. So the methodology of working in this period of Raj Kapoor's cinema was, there were 4 or 5 people who were critical. I mean, of course, Shankar Jaikishan, Shailendra, and Hasrat, and Mukesh were absolutely sort of key to his musical oeuvre. And right through his career, these people stand out. The song was written by Shailendra.
Ravi, what would be, if we had to incorporate it into an academic framework for students, what would be your starting point for a song such as this? Where would it sort of...
For me, I think as well as several other, collaborations are very important for me. How various energies, as Amitji rightly pointed out, come together, and then the thing that gets created is also exported, and it becomes the song of the a whole people, right? It does not belong. So what I like about this is that these collaborations are happening all across the globe, and a global product gets created. So there is, of course, I mean, it's obvious.
No one anticipated that. To be fair,
Yeah.
there were so many films prior to this that had that desire, that had those kind of forces, but this somehow captured the imagination for various reasons.
Yeah, I mean, so I think what happens is that they all come together to create a masterpiece like this, and that becomes the template. Musically also, right? People are struggling in the 1940s with orchestration, with lyrics, everything. If we compare, there are some great songs in the 1940s, but from the beginning of the 50s at least, right? You have too many very good songs. And Shailendra, Hasrat, and others who are Sahir, others who are coming in, they are creating like this, क्या this तकदीर का मारा हूँ उसके पहले दुनिया तेरे पीर का. What a lovely phrase this is. And Madan ji will have much more things to say about this. दुनिया का पीर क्या है? It's the pain of the world. तीर का, दुनिया तेरे तीर का, पीर का, it's पीर का. ओके ठीक है ओके या तो दुनिया ने तीर और तकदीर ओके ठीक है सो आई एम ए विक्टिम ऑफ द वर्ल्ड एंड मे बी of the fate, etc. So these collaborations and how they are on a hunt for picking up the right people, picking up the right voice, picking up the right poetry, and also it's very orchestration is very limited here. Going by SJ standards, as we come to know in later periods. So it's very basic, but it sets the Tramp character, the jo pickpocket character, which he repeats also in other films like Chaliya. So he's that character, he builds on that characters. And also those antics, which you find, of course, in Charlie Chaplin, but also what culminates in Mera Naam, Joker. Antics on the street. So that creates a kind of visual language for his body, which is playing with other bodies, with the help of the songs and the camera, of course.
Jui, what would be your first thoughts when you bring this song and you want to introduce it to a younger audience who've not got the sense of the history, who probably haven't heard it directly, maybe through their parents or grandparents, it's permeated down. How would you sort of introduce this song to the younger generation in their 30s and 20s?
Since we are, am I audible?
Yes.
Since we are, talking in a rubric of nation and nationalism, what I find particularly interesting is that Shailendra and Raj Kapoor, born within 2 years of each other, when the country becomes free, the nation becomes free, 47, is a big year for both of them. Raj Kapoor gets his first film as a hero, not as an actor, but as a hero, Neel Kamal. Shailendra shifts to Bombay and becomes this apprentice as a welder in Matunga rail yard. And there, crisscrossing each other starts from that point, where Shailendra is going to, IPTA and Progressive Writer Association meetings. I believe Shaukat Kafi has said that he used to come with these burn marks on his shirt. So he is so different from Raj Kapoor. He is from a Dalit background. He has been so poor. He has, there is a story his daughter has narrated about how there would be no food at home. So his elder bhabi would say, "Bidi pilo and kill your hunger because there's no dinner." So that's a very, very different thing, trajectory he's following, whereas Raj Kapoor is the son of a big star, is learning his way, learning the ropes his father has made him, but he's never going to go through those experiences. And when Raj Kapoor meets him for the first time, Shailendra is reciting this poem, Jalta Hai Punjab Hamara. which Raj Kapoor is so taken by that he wants to buy it. Now again, they are completely different in this. Raj Kapoor is completely into films, making them, acting in them. And Shailendra rejects the offer, though he was not so well-to-do, but he does not want to sell his art, which was also a thing at that time. You don't go commercial with your art. And then 2 years later, Shailendra has to, because his wife is not well, so he has to come to Raj Kapoor and write songs for Barsat. These two very, very different people are coming together and creating this. And of course, I'm not mentioning Abbas because it will become too long, but as you all know. So, the song to me seems like, with all love for Shankar Jaikishan's tune, it's a coming together of what these three people are creating. The Chaplin-esque persona, the little man, so to say, the common man, little man, whatever. And there is this story, which I think is true, because I hope it's true, that when Raj Kapoor introduced Abbas and Shailendra, or at least not introduced, but they met together.
No, they knew each other.
They knew each other. But the story of Awaara was perhaps told, and Shailendra was there. And Raj Kapoor turned to him and said, how do you see this story? How do you see this character? And apparently Shailendra said, गर्दिश में था पर आसमान का तारा था. Kind of encapsulating the point for the other two people. And that's a very, you can see why I want the story to be true. I'll give the mic to someone, but just I may forget this, so I just want to say, I'm sure all of you know this, apologies for repeating, but gardish is a very interesting word, and Shailendra was very fond of it. Gardish means, going round and round, orbiting. But from that meaning also comes...
Whirlpool. For me, I always thought Shailendra saw gardish as the whirlpool of life which goes around rather than the planetary orbit.
No, certainly. The meaning is beginning from the planetary orbit, but then coming to, not just for Shailendra, but for others also, being in trouble. And in this particular case, kind of being a vagrant, जो चक्कर लगा रहा है, घूम रहा है, उसका अपना घर बार नहीं है. And then Shailendra puns on that, from being in trouble but being a star in orbit, which then goes to the other song I think we have in Mera Naam Joker, where he says, "Gardish mein taare rahenge sada." The star, we may not be there, but the stars will be orbiting. So I find that very interesting.
Madan, even though you didn't hear the song, thank you. Even though you didn't hear the song, I'm sure you know it inside well. But do share with us from your musical framework, what excites you about this song, which makes it unique?
Yeah, the first thing that excites me about the song is that it came in 1951, the year the Constitution was put in place. And it is also the time when Binaka Geetmala didn't exist. So it came into existence 3 years later.
But Constitution 52.
52.
But 51 is...
1 or 2 years later, yeah. So how is it that this song becomes so popular? That is one. It's the question that needs to be sort of, addressed. The second thing that fascinates me about the song is that, as Raviji very rightly pointed out, there's a lot about coming together. There are too many things coming together. See, these are people, if I were to explain in one word, these are the people of what in Urdu we call Berun Shahar. Berun Shahar is the city outside. The city doesn't belong to Raj Kapoor. It doesn't belong to K. Abbas. It doesn't belong to Shailendra. It doesn't belong to a whole range of musicians who've come from Goa. There are instruments that are being used for the first time, unlike in the 40s when the Punjab dhol rhythm was dominating the scene. But for Anil Biswas, who was able to sort of, raise the initial challenge. And the second challenge, of course, was raised by Khemchand Prakash in 1949 with Mahal. We'll come to that later when we see the other song. So one is this. So this song has that, peculiar feel
of evolution, and therefore it is also very simple. If you look at the melodic sort of, arrangement, it's very simple. The instruments are all accordion, and there is a kind of harmonic thing, like it could be either harmonium or piano, and there is a tambourine and so on and so forth. Accordion is, of course, very, very important. But if you look at the initial sort of, picturization, so you begin with the street, if I'm not mistaken, and it's a kind of a very, tight sort of, it's not a street that you see in the long shot. It's a street that you see in sort of, tight mid shots. Then you have this followed by a street, a cycle being snatched, and Raj Kapoor getting onto a truck, and there are these fisherwomen, and he is thrown off the truck, and thereafter he comes into the slum. And this is also the time when the Italian Neorealist cinema is almost sort of, it's come to an end. And post-World War II, the enormity of vacant spaces and destruction that you see in Italian Neorealist cinema, and compare that to the uneven quality of mise-en-scène. I'm not really convinced by Raj Kapoor entering that slum, and there are these young kids playing there, and there are people going in one side, and there are women who are washing, whatever. And then finally he picks up a child and he vanishes into a street which is utterly lonely. So what is this about, the song? I often wonder. It is about too many uncertainties. It is, of course, the song is also talking about his own sort of, destiny, so to speak, in a new order which is evolving. And there is a lot of cinema that is happening at that time, which is addressing precisely the same question. In fact, from Raj Kapoor's own production houses, there is Boot Polish, and there is Ab Dilli Dur Nahi. If you look at that, then you will know that there are certain questions that are being posed by Raj Kapoor or through the productions, because he himself couldn't pose these questions that pointedly. But there are questions being posed. In this also, he poses a very pertinent question about empowerment, about entitlement. And parallel to that, you have this other thing. But this continues even in Jagte Raho. And none of these films are actually directed by him. These are films produced by him. And these are not necessarily very successful films. These three that I have mentioned. There is also, we'll come to that when we come to the other Raj Kapoor songs. We'll come to that, especially Chori Chori. I want to mention Chori Chori in connection with something very pertinent, because something was changing. You must understand that 1949, a lot changed with Mel in terms of how intuitively you respond to technology of recording, but also how you respond to this entire question of an uncertain India. That's very, very important. Which direction are we going to take? That is the question that is being repeatedly raised. I think Kamal Amrohi, does it very well in one of the songs in 1949, followed by a whole range of songs in the 40s.
We'll come to that, Madan.
So,
Madan, I have a question which still is, why do you think this song captures the imagination of, the communist socialist bloc? Apart from the thematic reason, is there anything musical which makes, because they are not a very musical people vis-a-vis their films, and yet this song seems to capture from Turkey to Yugoslavia to Russia to a whole host of other countries.
Russia has a lot of melody which is similar. I will not mention the name of this maestro, one of the classical musicians, and I was working with him on an album, and he actually came out with a composition, and I immediately sort of, placed it in the early 50s in Russia. And I said, well, this reminds me of that. And then he very politely conceded that it was indeed that very composition. So Russia's compositions, I don't know. I mean, if you're traveling all over, and it was not just the Soviet bloc or the leftist bloc. It was Turkey. Yeah. It was Brazil, of all places. So it's
15 years later.
30 years later, okay.
50.
But Turkey,
Egypt, Morocco, Turkey also in that.
Element was this was the first Hindi song which became popular in China.
South Africa,
China.
of course, of course.
Well, let's move to the second song, and because we, Beta, second song, please.
रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया
मैंने दिल तुझको दिया मैंने दिल तुझको दिया ओ रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया मैंने दिल तुझको दिया मैंने दिल तुझको दिया ओ रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया
तेरी आंखों में ये दुनियादारी न थी तेरी आंखों में ये दुनियादारी न थी
तू और था तेरा दिल और था तेरे मन में ये मीठी कटारी न थी तेरे मन में ये मीठी कटारी न थी
मैं जो दुख पाऊं तो क्या आज पछताऊं तो क्या मैं जो दुख पाऊं तो क्या आज पछताऊं तो क्या
मैंने दिल तुझको दिया मैंने दिल तुझको दिया ओ रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया
देश में तेरे परदेश में सोने चांदी के बदले में बिकते हैं दिल सोने चांदी के बदले में बिकते हैं दिल
इस गाँव में दर्द की छाँव में प्यार के नाम पर ही धड़कते हैं दिल प्यार के नाम पर ही धड़कते हैं दिल चांद तारों के तले रात ही गाती चले चांद तारों के तले रात ही गाती चले मैंने दिल तुझको दिया मैंने दिल तुझको दिया ओ रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया
तुझको दिया ओ रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया
मैंने दिल तुझको दिया मैंने दिल तुझको दिया ओ रमैया वस्तावैया रमैया वस्तावैया याद आती रही दिल दुखाती रही अपने मन को मनाना ना आया हमें से दूर से ही तू भी ये कह दे कभी, वहीं से दूर से ही तू भी ये कह दे कभी, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया। ओ रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया,
मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया।
ओ रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया।
रास्ता वही और मुसाफिर वही, एक तारा न जाने कहाँ छुप गया, एक तारा न जाने कहाँ छुप गया। दुनिया वही, दुनिया वाले वही, कोई क्या जाने किसका जहां लुट गया, कोई क्या जाने किसका जहां लुट गया। मेरी आँखों में रहे कौन जो मुझसे कहे, मेरी आँखों में रहे कौन जो मुझसे कहे, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया।
ओ रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया, मैंने दिल तुझको दिया। ओ रमैया वस्तावैया, रमैया वस्तावैया।
Now he's come into more his own nature. You can see the romantic overwhelms. I never thought he really had a great, deeply socialistic streak in him. But like all compassionate, caring human beings, the injustice in the country deeply bothered lots. But now you can see he's found love, or he's finding love, and the whole romantic energy of his cinema takes over, though that sense of iniquity is still there. So this is that period where Chori Chori follows this. Tell us, how will you sort of, because this is one, for me, one of the most idealistic in that naive, traditional way. Naive not in a negative sense.
No, as I said, for me, what is most fascinating about this phase, it continues up to 1965 in Hindi cinema. And Raj Kapoor is a pioneering presence, as is Gurudutt and many others, actually. But these two names come to my mind immediately. I am, at this, within this period, the idea of the city outside, and I see that city outside as a multiple singularity. If you're looking at this song, then there is a clear division of a world from where Raj Kapoor has come.
If you note, the scene before this is Natira's big party.
Yes.
And he's leaving that party.
Yeah, absolutely. And the life, which is actually, where is home? That's a very essential question. And what is the nature of happiness? All that you see here is happening on the street, and there are people who are trying to give structure to a sense of being together in an idealized way, of course. He's written a song which is creating a very clear definitional division between that country and this. And this country is a kind of ephemera. It's a kind of, it's not yet come into existence. And this keeps happening in the earlier cinema of Raj Kapoor again and again. And for me, this becomes very... there is one information that I want you to give us, which is, what is Zohra Sehgal in any way involved in this song? No. it is the other fellow who'd come from Andhra, the choreographer. Haji?
Satyanarayan.
Satyanarayan. Satyanarayan is from where?
This is a Telugu song.
Telugu, of course. Ramaiya. So that will be. Yeah. Okay. Shankar Jayakishan.
Originally, although he was a UP, came from a UP family, but they were brought up in the family had settled in Hyderabad. So this song, in fact, the Mukhra was written by Shankar as a dummy words. Ramaiya Vastavaiya, Ramaiya Vastavaiya. So ultimately, Shailendra said that to Raj Kapoor, and he agreed that let's retain these two lines and write ahead. That this was not supposed to be the.
This is. I mean, I find this fascinating because here is a team which has come from, virtually come from Prithvi Theatres, and there is a lot which has also come from IPTA. So, coming together of Prithvi Theatre and IPTA, and people coming from various backgrounds. A Gujarati, and you say that he was a UPite who spent part of his life, major part of his life in Andhra Pradesh, and of course there is a choreographer who's also South Indian. There is Sheila Vaz also in this, that girl who's dancing. So this is. And this kind of coming together, this kind of confluence, this kind of unformed city, this formation of city initially is for me very, very, because he is also talking about an Andarun Desh, the country they've left behind. वो देश में, ये देश में क्या होता है भाई?
Okay. Thank you. Juhi, would you like to, your take on this song and Raj Kapoor's movement forward?
Huh. No, very much what Madanji is saying. Earlier, in the early part of the film, Raj Kapoor has already come to this very footpath, to these very people. In fact, the community is in the shadow of the villain's mansion. Seth Sona Chand Dharmanand, I think. And he has had the kind of, nok jhok that you have with people who can become friends. But basically, there is a sense of almost like finding an alternative family, particularly because Lalita Pawar, a very, very maternal figure who loves him very much, clearly, is there. She's in this song, she's in fact the only one who is accepting him and gesticulating "Maine dil tujhko diya" at the end, at a point when, because of who he has become, the woman who does love him has rejected him, Nargis. She is the voice of conscience in the film. So yes, he has been hugely accepted in this kind of family where they initially took care of him. Now he's come back to them at this point where he, in a sense, he is rejecting himself. What have I become? There is a scene just before this where he looks at the mirror and the tramp Raju is seen in the mirror and the suited and booted Raj Kapoor is seen, and he sees that I am not who I truly am. I have not, I have changed myself. So, sorry, I keep coming back to Shailendra, but I find one word and line very, very interesting in this one. Shailendra, his lyrics helped create the Raj Kapoor persona so much. There is, it's almost political for Shailendra to be innocent, to be incorruptible. And तेरी आँखों में वो दुनियादारी नहीं थी. Is a very beautiful this thing. You must not have दुनियादारी. In that sense, your hero, because of circumstances, can become a thief or a fraud or whatever. But दुनियादारी पे compromise नहीं होनी चाहिए. And he is becoming a दुनियादारी filled person, which is not the right thing to be. Shailendra is very uncompromising on that.
Absolutely. Ravi, your
just one thing to add. This the urban atmosphere that we see in Raj Kapoor's films, or a lot of films in the 50s. And the theme, of course, this theme carries on till 80s, 90s even, I think. Saeed Mirza and others, So it continues through Abbas's films and other films. This tension between the urban, which is outside, but which could also be rural, even though this is very much a studio scene. But the rural is being recreated through this okhal and musal, and threshing that is happening. Yeah, so I was, yeah, exactly. So I was reminded of Beni Puri, who was a socialist from Bihar, who said, "Kaam karta hua वह गाता था और गाता हुआ वह काम करता था." So this persona, right, whether peasant or worker, working while singing, is a static theme in Hindi cinema. It is, whether Raj Kapoor is a socialist or not, does not matter. His colleagues have that imagination. They are rooted somewhere. And they also represent that ethos, that your poetry will convey the work culture as well. And of course, that complaint that you belong to us, how dare you leave us like this, and go over to the other side, right, of Chandi and Sone Ki Duniya and stuff like that. Ji.
World of Dunya.
May I just
Of course,
make
Baba.
one brief point?
Of course, Baba.
There are two strategies in musical terms where there is a bridge being created through alap-like sound. Initially in the voice of Lata Mangeshkar, when Nargis comes in, which is also the transition from the community to the individual. So that's a very interesting thing. You have to create a sync, and it's an impossible sync, because suddenly a folk sort of energy, and through that you have to create a kind of individual pain of one girl who's actually fallen. She's sitting on the pavement. So that is one.
Well, outside her school, to be fair, it's outside the school classroom.
Yeah, but the second one is a call which is given at the end in Mohammad Rafi's voice. Now, what is the major difference between the two? The difference is that in the first sort of, kind of sync which is sought to be created between the community and the individual, you will see that the alap created by Lata Mangeshkar has a resolution. It's a uskandar. In classical music we say this is uskandar. There's a sense of samit. Even though it is painful, there is a sense of samit. But when Rafi comes towards the end and he raises his voice, it is the voice of assertion and hope. And the voice it keeps going. It is open-ended. So this strategy, this musical strategy is fascinating, absolutely. So that's the brief point that I wanted to make.
That's a lovely point.
Thank you.
Amit, your thoughts on this, Baba?
Let's keep 2 or 3 things in mind. One is, like many filmmakers of his time, not all, but I'm talking about the important filmmakers. Let's begin with somebody like Shantaram or Mehboob Khan. People like these were not read. They were illiterate. But if you go back to Mehboob, whom does he take inspiration for Roti or for Aurat? So they were very conscious, and so was Raj Kapoor, that he always had this complex. And I have met Raj Saab over years. He had this, when he got drunk, and he was very vicious when he got drunk. This would surface once in a while. That he was, not well read. He was not familiar with the world literature. So he surrounded himself with people who were aware of all these things. So whether it was Abbas, whether it was Shailendra, unlike most songwriters of the 50s, I'm leaving the 40s and 30s aside, Shailendra is the only lyric writer, who was very well versed not because of an ideological tint, but very well versed with Hindu mythology. So, some of his insights come from there, not overtly, because most of us are not aware of it. But he is transcends that border. Ideologically, he was leftist, but that did not preclude his earlier life, where and he has often said that he remembered his mother and his grandmother and his uncles and aunts who would recite this old verses. They came. He originally was from Bihar, but then he spent his childhood in Jhansi. Mathura was very little, then he moved to Jhansi. And Mathura's earlier education was in Mathura. Then he moved to Jhansi, where he got his first job also. And he was a very interesting person. And so Raj Kapoor is very conscious of this. And so, as I said, so was Mehboob, so was Shantaram. I mean, making a film like Duniya Na Mane or Padosi in 1930s was quite a radical thing for an illiterate Marathi who was not exposed to the world cinema. But if importantly, what was happening in the 50s was in 51, the first international film festival was held in Bombay. Which
52.
50,
51
yeah, 52,
it
yeah.
was December, January,
Yeah.
you're right.
So, this was, Nehru was responsible for this festival. And that was the first major exposure to the neorealist cinema to a number of people. Now, a lot of Raj Kapoor's contemporaries, for example, I'd say Bimal Roy, was very deeply influenced by Desika and the other people, while Raj Kapoor was not. And interestingly, Shailendra worked both with Bimal Roy and Raj Kapoor. And you see his lyrics in Bimal Roy, they are of a different nature. And in this, Raj Kapoor's songs are quite, more, as Madan has pointed out, it talks about the two worlds and this thing.
But also romance,
Yeah, romance,
very
because
important.
the other
Bimal
point I was
Roy-
trying to make was that Awaara was the beginning of the Nargis Raj Kapoor romance. For the first time, they traveled together to Russia. Then, by the time of Shree 420, they were madly in love.
Absolutely. So let's have
So
the song.
that romance which comes into the songs in the picturization is Raj Kapoor. It is not so much Shailendra or Shankar Jaikishan or Satyanarayan, the choreographer.
So let's have the epitome of the romance and the third song. Third song, beta, please.
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल
कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल
कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल अपनी प्रीत का गीत न बदलेगा कभी
तुमने कहा इस राह का मीत न बदलेगा कभी प्यार टूटा साथ छूटा
चाँद न चमकेगा कभी इकरार हुआ है प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल
कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है हमारे प्यार के दोहराएगी जवानियाँ
मैं न रहूंगी तुम न रहोगे फिर भी रहेंगी निशानियाँ
प्यार हुआ इकरार हुआ है प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल प्यार प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल
Yesterday, we had from E. Raja, Natum song, and the idea that when love comes to you, it's confusion, and I said, no, it's the greatest clarity. You can see that same moment here, where again, it could be confusion, but it is clarity. The heart sees it as one, the mind sees it as another. And this song sort of epitomizes the triumph of the heart over everything else. And you can't get in Hindi cinema as romantic as this, I assume. And there's so many little things which over the years get highlighted, from the three children to a whole host of it. But musically, the way you for the last song about the summit of Nargis's thing compared to that. What are the musical issues here which you would like to highlight?
Musically, this is the era when there is a lot of experimentation going on with. Actually, it is improved in purely musical terms. The way the music is structured in this song is a lot different from, let's say, Awara Hoon. So, and in Ramaiya Vastavaiya, in fact, in Ramaiya Vastavaiya, he's taking a huge risk. As I said, those two bridges, especially Lata Mangeshkar's bridge from the collectivity to the individual, is a difficult bridge. It's not easy. And to her credit, she's actually done a wonderful job. Here, I am fascinated by two things. प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल? कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल. This is as much a song about these two nearly destitute lovers as also about this nascent, newly free India. So, and at that time, a lot of such music and such. See, the thing is that there is a brief which is given to the poet, that this is the song that you have to write. Does it mean that the poet is constrained only by what the director has told him or her? He is going to create his own mischief. डरता है दिल, कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल, कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल. I'm reminded of a very interesting discussion I had with Dilip Gaonkar many years ago. He'd started working at the Times of India, and he was one of the junior editors at that time. And we were discussing a song. This is the song. खामोश है ज़माना, चुपचाप है सितारे, आराम से है दुनिया, बेकल है दिल के मारे. आराम से है दुनिया, बेकल है दिल के मारे. ऐसे में कोई आहट इस तरह आ रही है, जैसे कि चल रहा हो दिल में कोई हमारे, और दिल धड़क रहा है इस आस के सहारे, आएगा आएगा आएगा, आने वाला आएगा. Now, he said something which took my breath away. He had done his PhD in cinema, if you remember, in Sorbonne. And he said something fascinating. He said, Aega Aane Wala is about Nehru. And I was completely, and he said, and then later on when I went into this thing, and this is actually, you know, when you go into the way the songs are written. Kamal Amrohi went to Nakshab to write this 2-minute and 57-minute long thing. The 2-minute and 57-second long thing. He said, this is an act of madness. He went to Ashok Kumar, madness. He went to Devika Rani, madness. Finally, Kamal Amrohi wrote it himself. Now, the point is that here, when the song is, प्यार से फिर क्यों डरता है दिल, it is about, कहता है दिल रास्ता मुश्किल, मालूम नहीं है कहाँ मंजिल ही. All that binds in the midst of all this, and this is what you were talking about, love, is the idea. The binding force is the idea of love. Bonding. See, in Sufi thought, there are three things. The lowest is Allah, a rung above that is ishq, and the finest rung is the act of bonding. And it is the act of bonding that is, because, you know, if you follow the wording of the song, suddenly you will find that the song catapults itself into cosmic morality. If Dason Dishaएं and, you know, and Ikrar is already a covenant. It's a compact that you're making. So it is all about, and for me, you know, that's why in Awara Hoon I brought in the idea of the constitution, the compact, the idea of love, and the idea of understanding and binding through this. I think this is an amazing, amazing song. And in this, as I said, the two bridges that you mentioned, in this, if you look at the way Manna days, he is, and Lata Mangeshkar also, the call is broken into 4 parts. Each part is going there, except the last one. It's an open-ended call. Only in the 5th or the 4th, it is brought back.
I'm not understanding this point fully. Just expand it.
For instance, in folk music and in classical music, there is one very major difference. The difference is the classical music has to summato everything. It had to create a resolution. In folk music, the folk energy will keep going. For instance, ah ha ha, there is no summate in this. Ah ha ha, no summate in this. Ah ha ha. So this is, this is open-ended. It's only in the 5th that the resolution happens. It's likewise, if you're listening to Mohammad Rafi in Ramaiya Vastavaiya, the sound goes like this. It has the folk energy of being completely open-ended. Whereas Lata is creating a bridge between the two, between that word and this and the individual that suffers. So, I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time.
Interesting. Very good. Ravi, your first...
I think I'll react to it in the history of film lyrics, keeping that in mind. So, Darde-Ishq is the theme song for Saigal and his age. So, there is a quiet rebellion taking place here vis-a-vis the idea of love. It is forbidden. It's not acceptable. But the chaiwala, the only adult witness in the film, approves of this love. So he represents this dunya. Okay. He's approving. That's very important. And then the slow assertion takes place and confidence. The first scene, you don't know whether the couple is going to kiss or she is going to sneeze. She has a painful visage. You could imagine either. But from there, the film graduates, and it is an assertion against whole tragedy, tragic love stories that Saigal represented and all those heroines represented. So for me, this is a beautiful act of assertion, and all the other songs actually follow this line.
Just
one
second. If you look at the opening, the song has not begun yet. And Nargis looks at his face. This is amazing, this has not happened at that time. The whole idea of the erotic desire through the woman is quite exceptional. Raj Kapoor is not indulging in that. Raj Kapoor is still playing the buffoon. He's still playing his little mini flute. But when she looks at him, just look at the face. And it's a face which is like this. It is not like this. And that erotic longing through the face of the woman is exceptional in my view.
In fact, just before the song begins, I find the background to the erotic longing also very, very interesting. Pardon me, you'll never invite me again, but my mother used to say, when she saw that face, that barish mein bhigegi to cheek to aayegi. But before this expression of love as well as of longing, what has just happened is that they have had tea with that team chaiwala. Raj Kapoor has invited her to what he calls Footpath Palace Hotel. Later, the hotel in reference point is Raj Palace Hotel, where he goes and gambles and so on. So he says, "Chaliye, main aapko Footpath Palace Hotel le chalta hoon." They have the tea. He doesn't have the money, so he makes her give the money under the pretext of not having change. And she, there is a lot of, he knows what's happening, she knows what's happening, and so on. He then does a kind of comic proposal of love, which is basically कि देखिए जब कोई प्यार करता है तो शादी करते हैं तो बच्चे होते हैं तो घर भी लेना है, उनको पढ़ाना भी है. And she is shyly nodding to all this. And he then says, लेकिन मैं तो 45 रुपए कमाता हूँ, मैं ये सब कैसे कर पाऊँगा? This is his way of proposing, in keeping with the persona. And I love the fact that she then says, he says, एक आदमी 45 रुपए में कैसे कर सकता है? And she says, एक नहीं कर सकता, पर दो तो मिलकर कर सकते हैं. So she is very much a part of this. Is not some kind of shy woman. She was anyway a working woman. Just like in Awaara, she is a working woman. And she has her own, her things to say, what we call her agency, everything is there. And therefore, her expression of desire also seems to me very much like a part of the entire persona. Yeah.
One line I have to add. Roland Barthes has written a book called The Lover's Discourse. In that book, he says that all lovers believe that their love is unique. They also believe that the love is immortal. Here, the immortality comes in the last antara, the hope that their love will also remain. And it points to, the camera points to the three kids. So there is a, materiality to that sense of immortality, that your love will live on in the kids that you produce and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Amit, your thoughts, Babu, on the song?
Well, I think one thing which sort of I have a memory of is it was unlike most Raj Kapoor songs, this is sung by Manna.
Jeena.
And it was a, I was not there, but I was told by people who were there that there was a big battle between Raj Kapoor and Shankar Jaikishan about Shankar particularly, about using Manna Day. And he said, no, but what is wrong with Mukesh? And if you musically look at it, it would have been very tough for Mukesh to carry this song. So, Raj Kapoor was rigid in his creativity, but when it came to certain things, he sort of gave in. The other important point, taking from what yours mentioned, is, we often tend to confuse, and this irritates me a lot. The actor's persona overshadows the contribution of others. Raj Kapoor, the man, and I knew him, was not the kind of person, unlike, say, Guru Dutt, who rewrote his lines. He very seldom rewrote it. So this is Abbas, whose lines he's saying. It is more of Abbas's persona than Raj Kapoor's, and we often confuse that. The other thing is that this is the first song in which you see the magic of Radhu Karmakar. Which is we tend to overlook. A lesser cameraman would have made it flat. And,
in fact, I was thinking that the sets are so painfully obvious.
No, it's just the magical, the lighting.
Magic.
Yeah, and it's...
Especially that bus. That bus is by.
No, the rain. The whole romance of rain. And let's not forget that when this song was picturized, the equipment was rudimentary. Not today's equipment.
Yeah.
And in spite of that, he was able to create this magic.
Well, we've had three. Now, before we come to Jeena Yaha, Manna Yaha, anyone would like to comment on any of the three songs in any way which you feel you have something to say and add to how we are ideating? Anyone? Ambarish, Usaja, Sukhpreet? Anyone? Should we move on? Kuch nahi bolna? All right. Jeena Yaha, Manna Yaha.
जीना यहाँ मरना यहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ जीना यहाँ मरना यहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ जी चाहे जब हमको आवाज दो हम हैं वहीं हमसे जहां अपने यही दोनों जहां इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ ये मेरा गीत जीवन संगीत कल भी कोई दोहराएगा ये मेरा गीत जीवन संगीत कल भी कोई दोहराएगा जग को हंसाने बहरूपिया रूप बदल फिर आएगा स्वर्ग यही नर्क यहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ जी चाहे जब हमको आवाज दो हम हैं वहीं हम थे जहाँ अपने यही दोनों जहाँ इसके सिवा जाना कहाँ
Sorry for that, everyone. I tell the team to double check. We've lost half the song, and they repeated the first part again. Unforgivable? No problem. No, it is a problem, Babu. They have very little to do, and this should have been double checked. I apologize on behalf of my team. It's a great song. It's amazing. It's 20 years virtually after Awara Hoon. It's his full circle on one level. He still is with Abbas. He still has most of his team together. It's one of those strange films where every song was in a way touched you in so many ways, and yet this film, probably because of its indulgence and the manner by which it was put together, did not reach out at that time. But today, this song, even in the half-baked form that we've seen it, Ravi, why don't you start us? What are the first thoughts that come to you?
I would like to, build further on the conversation that we were having about how the literary team is crucial in creating this kind of atmosphere. So Abbas, yes, and also how there is a kind of ecology that gets created around certain films. So Abbas is, also writing this in English as a novel, and also releasing at the time of the film. So he's taking advantage of the market hype that gets created around a film. And this happens more than...
How did his novel do? I never thought about that.
No idea, but there is a paperback novel which I have. It didn't do. But that's another story. Abbas used to say this. Read this. This he said in the preface to Bobby, that read this story. It has been written by me. Also to see how when Raj Kapoor makes it, it becomes a huge hit. And when I make the same story, I am the common person, it's not received so well, etc., etc. So of course, this is one of those philosophical takes on life, and very materialistic take on life. That there is a continuity in the persona that may take rebirth, but it's not the same person. The person is not returning. This is my Swarg, this is my Nark, and that's why we return to this song time and again whenever we need to reflect upon life. Is there an afterlife, etc., etc. So, for me, cinema is the archive that has provided us with all kinds of, life situations, philosophical, solutions, and all kinds of things. It's a huge resource, it has been.
Juhi?
And also this, the heart, glass heart that breaks. It's his Mughal-e-Azam kind of moment, right?
Juhi, would you like to add your comment?
No, I haven't really seen Mera Naam Joker for a long time. I really shouldn't be speaking, but for what it is worth, the stanza we missed, which is worth it in the context of what he said, ये मेरा गीत, ये मेरे गीत जीवन संगीत कल भी कोई दोहराएगा जग को हंसाने बहरूपिया रूप बदल फिर आएगा. That cosmic thing is.
Well, look, I feel, again, this is, in my view, one of his really wonderful songs. It captures, and yet for some reason, it didn't capture the love of the audience for a few years. It took a few years for it to reintroduce. What do you think is the cause for that for someone like Raj Kapoor? Why wasn't the songs in themselves enough?
Difficult for me actually to explain this, but the
Or
thing
did
is,
that- any thoughts that come to
70s is, things have changed. Things have changed drastically. The whole idea, the pristine idea of the family is gone. Now you are in nostalgia. If you're looking at Awaara and if you're looking at Ramaiya Vastavaiya, no matter how idealistic they are, and Pyar Hua, these are sort of, still sort of very organic, living, dynamic moments. In the 70s, the idea of the family is gone. The Chacha is gone, the Bapu is gone, the Sardar is gone, the Maulana is gone. So that idea of that community that we nurtured with the independence of our country, that idea is gone, and with the, whatever happened in the Indo-China war, after that we are trying to sort of, rebuild things. And we can't rebuild it with just walls. It has to be, and therefore it is the time when Amitabh Bachchan is going to take over as,
Rajesh Khanna is still...
but Rajesh Khanna is a disenchanted youth. And Rajesh and this fellow is waiting in the wings because the question about the legitimacy of the birth, the legitimacy of the birth will be raised now. And the rest of it will become nostalgia. Jeena, Yahan. In fact, Sahir Ludhianvi also wrote, na, कि मैं पल दो पल का शायर हूँ. All that is sort of, it's compared to all this is tame. Because now what is happening is, if you look at the new films that are coming from 70 to 75, all that the hero is doing is looking for the father. It is actually, the new thing is, if I may use that word, in a not a pejorative sense, the word is bastard. So, this search for the, suddenly you're without a father, without the family. And therefore, you are, back into, ye gardish hai. Jeena yahan, marna yahan, iske siva jana kahan. This is actually the gardish. This is the gardish. I showed you that silly letter I had written when I was a young boy in Filmfare on this film.
Yes.
I must have been about 16, 17. And I feel so awful. But, I did raise one point, which either I have not developed ever since, or, I love this song for different reasons. I love this song for purely nostalgic reasons. But I will be very reluctant to, and in fact, if I'm not mistaken, sir, Shailendra passed away. He wrote only
66.
only the first on the Mukra. And आप बताएं कुछ हो रही.
Hassan.
Actually, Shelley wrote it, but a lot of it was done by his daughter.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's very interesting. I was there for the shooting of this song.
Okay.
And it's, you know, very unlike Raj Kapoor. If you study this song carefully, it is not his style. Because all these people, the other people had become big stars. So they were not available. So there's no composite shot. They are all taken in Bombay. This song was shot in Delhi in Gemini Circus. And none of the other people were present. So they had to take their shots later on in Bombay. So they are inserted. This is not Raj Kapoor.
Right.
There's a certain alienation in it. And
Amitji, I have just one point to make.
Yeah.
In this film, this is my humble sort of, I don't judge music. But there is one rendition of Heer by Mohammed Rafi, which I think is absolutely outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Raj Kapoor comes dressed as a fakir, and this lady, what's her name? That South Indian actress.
Padmini.
She's on a sort of on a bed, and the whole thing is addressed to her. What an absolutely wonderful rendition. मैंने ऐसी हीर नहीं सुनी है, including your favorite हीर रांझा.
yeah, the problem with this film is that it was shot at over a long period of time. And that happens with all films like this. Many become immortal hits. Pakiza, for example. Mughal-e-Azam. These were films which were shot over a span of 15 years. And you can deconstruct the film and discover the lacunae. I've been fortunate that I know these people, so there is my view gets colored. For example, you were talking about Kamal Amrohi. He was very fond of me, and I have spent a lot of time with him. And and by the way, he was not Nehruvian. At all, completely. I mean, he was the eternal romantics of the 40s, and and
Coming back to the song.
this song, yeah, it's a very fascinating song. As he rightly pointed out, Shailendra had just written the Mukhra, the opening two lines, and there were two options. One, to get another songwriter, and Shankar was very keen that Neeraj writes it. He wrote another song in this, two songs for this film. But Raj Kapoor, out of compassion, said no. I don't want to drop. Raj Kapoor used to call Shailendra his Pushkin. He used to. No, he never. He always said Pushkin. Yeah, Mira Pushkin. And Shailendra died on Raj Kapoor's birthday.
Yeah.
And after he had not come to the party, they used to have a party. So Jay Kishan and Raj Kapoor and one or two more people came to Shailendra's house, and they discovered that he was dead. But that apart, so this is an unusual song. It's not like Raj Kapoor. He was one filmmaker who from the beginning was somebody who would see his rushes and dump them and then shoot again. That's why people called him indulgent, and he started producing at a very young age because he didn't want anybody to question it. But this was not by that creative choice. It was by compulsion that this film got delayed over time, and that's why the narrative, the storytelling, everything is fragmented.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to leave on this sort of Dukhi Atma note, because, for me, I'll personalize it a bit because it's an important turning point in my life. I was in England, and there were two films which I saw. I was 7 years old, or 7.5, and there was Anand, and there was Mera Naam Joker. And throughout my life, those two songs, one is the one in Anand, Kai Dur, and Jeena Yahan. And they, in a way, define my relationship to a large extent with, a very, I had a very strange relationship with death. I've actually always welcomed it from childhood. Never ever thought it was anything but a friend. Always called it a welcome stranger. Always found it to be always loving and empathetic and listening to ideas. So both of those songs, this one and Anand's song, sort of were the first awakenings of me realizing my relationship with death and India, because both were very intertwined when you're sitting in England and romanticizing about your country. So one part of this whole workshop is to, it's part of the self-discovery via Rediscovering India Festival, that all of us are on one journey alone to know ourselves, to be true to ourselves, to sustain the journey of being true to ourselves. And what facet of India triggers it? It could be, most of these triggers are random. They're not chosen, they're imposed. It's up to us to be open at that point in time. And, it's a strange confluence of forces which makes us think Anand is a romantic, happy movie, and Mera Naam Joker is also a romantic, happy movie. Not really having any relevance to the films or the songs themselves, but that's the beauty of the song. I think the reason why the Hindi song has lived so long and has become part of the psyche of virtually everyone, either directly or through their parents or grandparents. And that power, that emotional power, that innocent, romantic, idealistic, a relationship with dud, suffering, pain. It's the heart of most of the greatest songs, that how we sublimate suffering, do not see it as suffering, rise above the suffering, etc. So we are coming to the dawn of suffering next. Let's take a few minutes break, and we shall return with Gurudat and 4 beautiful songs, and a man who really brought the song into the rhythm of the film more than anyone else for that period. Amrish, aap bolna kuch chahte ho beta?
No, I just wanted to ask, or basically try and understand, the first 2 songs to the third. There's a certain preoccupation in that era, 1950s, those 2 songs. It's the same team, Mera Naam Joker, virtually. But the preoccupations have changed. I mean, from a look at the nation, from a look at...
Raj has changed, no?
Huh?
Raj has changed. Raj Kapoor. It's his films.
Yeah, but it's the same. Abbas Saab is the same.
No,
it's just interesting is all I'm saying, that and then the second song, it's about the triumph of love. But here it's about the defeat, in a manner of speaking. I mean, his heart gets broken.
It is.
The second one is triumph, but here his heart gets persistently broken.
Yeah. But
So this comes towards the end.
it's a reconciliation of love because he's older. Remember, it's 15 years later. He's gone through the loss of love, trying again the loss of love. He had the Vajanti Mala in his life. He had a few others. He's a romantic on many levels, wedded to his wife. It's a journey. Never doubt the overwhelming choice of Raj Kapoor. You may have 100 people around you, but Raj Kapoor, post-ARG even, made Raj Kapoor films. And all the advisors, whether they're Shailendra, they may give voice, but they're his emotions, his aspirations, his thoughts, and his films. You know, you can't take out Raj Kapoor from anything, whether we like it or not. All right, folks.